Hi again. Alright, so this is Rachel doing installment 6 of Why I Left, going out to Mark Gibson, USAF. Alright, so there was one statement that I had said you had specifically asked about, and I thought I would focus this as the 6th of them um, and see if this answers the questions that you asked in your video, um, and maybe later if there's any more, of course. The phrase was, I said that God had called me into the faith, and that God had called me out of the faith. Okay. So what does that look like? What does that mean? What do I mean when I'm saying that? Okay. In the summer of 2010, there was a church being built, and I would drive past it every day, bringing my son to school. And I knew when I saw it from the shape that it was Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, but my common memory of anything that was Orthodox was connected to Russian. So I thought to myself, oh great, I'm going to see onion tops. Being in Chicago, like, there's a ton of Greeks, okay? I mean, there's every different ethnic variety, but there's a lot of Greeks there. And so there's Greek Orthodox churches, like, throw a stone, you hit 3, you know? So those were the only 2 kind of Orthodox that I had ever really heard of. And this church, it was Antiochian. So it didn't have an onion top. It's just like, it's just gorgeous. Anyways, it's copper. I'll put a link to it because it's just a beautiful church. Anyway, so I would drive past it every day, bringing my son and watching this church being built. And as I would drive, I would get a sensation of like a magnet, like I was being pulled there. And I would try to ignore it when I drove past, and it didn't matter going or coming. It was always present, and I didn't understand it, and sometimes it made me angry or confuse me. But it was ever present, and there was nothing that I could do about it except go humph and to be confused. And one time I heard in my head, and I describe it as being my heart said, because I don't know how to see it any other way, but I heard my heart say, I want to go there. And that was the most confusing thing that I could think or feel, because I didn't know why. Why would I have anything to do with a church? I'm a Baha'i. Why would I want to go to a church? Why would I want to go to that church? What am I talking about? And while that happened at that time, I truly filed it away. Even for its persistence, I filed it away. And every time I had to drive past it, I still had that feeling, but I just didn't know why. And I didn't know what to do about it, because I just thought I would feel completely uncomfortable there or something, you know. So, pardon me. When it was that obvious I was not going to be spending a year after being a Baha'i, just trying to kind of figure my own self out, that I was going to be, you know, headlong taking a, you know, off from the high dive, right? Just being plunged right into this world. It was amazing, but, and it still is, but it was odd. and it was completely surprising. And I've said in another blog that if I had heard myself from the past, hearing now in the future, calling myself a Christian or that I go to Orthodox church or anything like that, I would have thought that those statements coming from me were impossible and that I must have had some kind of like personality transplant. Like literally, like there was no way that I could have ever considered that that could possibly have been, my identity. Because I had wrapped up my identity in being a Baha'i and truly thinking that for the rest of my life that I was going to be Baha'i. The year I had declared, I had also gotten married. And because, a Baha'i can marry someone who isn't Baha'i, but they have a Baha'i wedding, I had a Baha'i wedding. So um, it was all wrapped up into everything that I did. And I took it around us everywhere we went as we moved around. So to change that, well, it was confusing. But the longer that it's been, and it's only been, several, 6 months such, now I remember more of what I call those threads of orthodoxy, these little whiffs and wisps of what that was that would then later make a lot of sense. So, like things as a kid, I remember I had a friend in my building that was Greek, and that they were just fun people to hang out with. I really liked being in their house. So that was like a comfortable association. And oddly, being raised as a Jew, and maybe I'll talk about that, but really it's not that important in relationship to this. The Greek Orthodox that I knew were the only Christians that I didn't feel uncomfortable being a Jew around. Go figure. I don't know why. But the Russian Orthodox, being Jewish, that was something that, was more tenuous because relatives, who knew recent history, like even my husband's family, had to deal with violence, but, pogroms in well, countries of, I'm not going to say countries, but so that kind of association, like if I knew that someone was Russian, and I had a ton of Russian friends, but I had never really had any Ukrainian friends or Latvian friends, because and the Russian friends that I had were always Jewish. They were never Orthodox because there was such a prejudice. There was such a there was a bigotry against that because we were taught to be scared. That's the best thing I could say. We were taught to be fearful. We were taught to be on guard. Okay, so one good experience, one bad experience, right? Then the next time that I can truly remember having one of these thread things is in college. A friend and I had gone to the library, and we had seen a picture of the icon of the Madonna that's in Poland. It's called a Black Madonna. And I remember looking at it and being completely fascinated by it, and also just riveted, but at the same time strongly comfortable. Okay. And I remember my friend who had never seen anything like that, she said, "What is that?" And I said, "I don't know. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And if I was going to be a Christian, that would be the kind of Christian I would want to be." And she looked at me like, "What?" Because she knew I was Jewish. She said, "You as a Christian?" And then we were joking because, Jewish Orthodox, ha 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 ha. I don't know why I remember that, but I said it. So when I was, what? I was probably like 21, when I said that. I guess I'm coming good on that now. All these years later, is that a promise that I made? I don't know. I had met one gentleman, and this was in Japan. He was in the Navy, and he was Orthodox, and his grandmother was Orthodox, and he just had a beautiful countenance about him. He was just a really fine person, and I enjoyed chatting with him. And he did not tell me anything specifically about Orthodoxy, but he just had such a great way about him that I didn't transfer it to his faith, but it was a good association, so that was nice. Um, Other than that, the best thing I could say is I never met any Orthodox or people who said that they were, so I never had any bad experiences, which probably worked to the best of favor because, meeting people who were calling themselves Christian and telling me I was going to hell, that made distrust and distaste and disfavor. So it was good that I hadn't met any until I can find a faith on YouTube. It happened to me. So that's part 6, and there's probably going to be more, because I don't really know if I answered the got called in, got called out part, just telling you about those threads. So I guess maybe I'll have to do a 7. And I thank you very much for listening. I know this is really long, and I wish you peace.